Welcome back to Bolted Bros, where we, two brothers, talk about movies, review them, and then we bolt.
My name is Jerem.
And I'm Kenny.
And today we're going to be talking about The Wild Robot. We had Inside Out, we had Transformers, and now we're on to The Wild Robot. And this is an original story.
I think it's based off of a book, right? Which I forget what the book is, but people tell me to read it. But as you said, it is original though. This isn't a sequel to anything. It's not a remake of anything. It doesn't feel like any story out there. It doesn't remind you of anything.
Yeah, not really. It does have some beats that are similar to other movies,
Yeah.
but it's not a sequel, which is the important part about this movie, because there's so many movies out that are now sequels, and we're kind of getting tired of it, even though they make a lot of money, and we still go to them.
Like Inside Out 2. I loved Inside Out 2, but I was still tired of sequels.
Yeah, so when someone comes with a new story, it's a great thing.
It is. Well, let's just get right into it then. Opening scenes. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, when the movie opened up, I thought it did a really good job at showing the intensity and the fear that is living in the wild, and it is very brutal. For a kids movie, I was very surprised at how much destruction and death there was in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it really shows that Roz, the main robot, is out of her element, and shows...
Well, and it shows that the animals seeing her out of her element are the ones that are also afraid of something new. Right?
Yeah, and it doesn't... And it really sets the scene of the movie really well, that these are animals who are destructive and killers, and you're going to need to learn how to survive.
Yeah, I agree. It sets that stage really quickly, really effectively. And one thing as well that adds to the fear is, as we said, she's out of her element, but we still don't know what her element is, right? I like that what they did with this opening scene is the opening scene wasn't Roz at some robot factory or something and then getting shipped out. Mm. No, it just starts with Roz on an island, crashed, or shipwrecked?
Yeah.
Air shipwrecked on an island, which adds to the intensity, I feel like, of knowing she's not in her element. But we don't know what her element is. We don't know any more than Roz does.
Yeah, all we know is that she's a basic AI that wants to complete tasks.
Yep. And
she's just trying to do that with all the animals around her, and she's making a mess and making enemies.
Right. And when Roz doesn't have a task, she doesn't know what to do with herself, right? So then eventually she finds a task through a very odd way, I would say. Do you want to explain it?
You mean find the task of becoming a mother?
Yeah.
So odd way as in a very sad way.
Right.
She accidentally kills the family of a gosling who's about to be born in an egg.
In her defense, she was being chased by a bear.
Yeah, so maybe it was the bear's fault all along.
Yeah.
Everybody should have blamed the bear.
Mm-hmm.
But Roz raises this egg, this gosling, and at first she's just completing a task, but eventually she becomes more human as she connects with this gosling.
Right.
And in the midst of this, Fink was introduced.
Yeah.
The fox.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was first introduced, I didn't like his character at all at first, just because I really liked the interactions that Roz was having with the gosling and the cute, fun things that were going on. Mm-hmm. I wanted the baby gosling to last more of the movie, but it went really fast.
That's true.
And introduced the fox, which, he just seemed like a character to me that I've seen before, just because he said, "I'm a fox and I lie. That's in my nature." It just reminded me of Zootopia right away.
Right.
And he wasn't very different or out of the ordinary, unlike Roz and the gosling, which is very different. And then adding Fink was just, I didn't like it at first, but he definitely grew on me.
Right. I'd say, like what you said, his character wasn't very original at first, but he quickly changed. I'd say as soon as Gosling grew up, which, as you said, that happened rather quickly. Fink was a pretty different character by that point already. feel like he still kind of tried to act that way at some points, but he was pretty much set on helping Roz and Bleak something? Bright Bill. There we go. I was close. And so then I think that's when Fink grew on me, at least.
Yeah, I think the moment that Fink starts to work is when Roz asks him, what is it like? What is love like?
Right.
Pretty
what
much.
is love like?
And he says, I wouldn't know. I'd never known. Now I'm sad. You know?
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, okay. He's a deeper character.
Yep.
I can roll with this.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. At some points, too, with Fink and Roz, it almost felt like a father-mother area, but then it started to not. It felt more like Roz was just the mother and Fink was
cool uncle.
Just, yeah, there we go. That's a good explanation. The cool uncle.
Yeah.
Which
friend.
I think was great for this movie because obviously, as we'll delve into, there's lots of parenting aspects to this. But if you're not a parent, it might not hit you as hard. It definitely still hits you hard. Maybe not as hard. And so to have Fink there as, like you said, the cool uncle, which is currently my role in our family.
Yeah.
I related to it. Great.
Yeah. And maybe that's why I wanted the baby Gosling time to last longer, just because
you have a
when
baby.
the Gosling was on screen, I was like, oh, my baby daughter. I remember I have a daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But one thing I liked about it was that it was a mom and son. I feel like a lot of movies tend to go father,
son, or daughter.
Father, daughter.
Yeah.
Which is like The Last of Us. That's the main theme of that one. And then we have Obi-Wan Kenobi's show with like kind of going after Leia. And yeah, just like the mentor son thing, there just seems to be a lot of men stories of those.
Right.
So when it was a mom story, it just felt a little bit more fresh and a little bit more sentimental.
Yeah.
And especially because she's so cool.
Yeah.
Like she can still destroy people
Mm-hmm.
and be kind on the inside and loving.
Always with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do hit hard with that whole aspect. Even from the very beginning when she first gets her task and the possums and she's like, none of us are programmed for this. We just make it up on the way.
I do not have the programming.
No one does.
Yeah.
Right. And then later, Roz finds other robots like her that are kind of destroyed in the shipwreck as well, but is able to talk to one of them. And that robot finds out that Roz has been overwriting her code, to which Roz just says, I've just been making it up as I go. I don't know what I'm doing. Right. It's in order to complete my task. Right. And then obviously lots of layers throughout as well. But in order for that, the mother aspect to come through fully means that Bright Bill, the son aspect, I guess, had to also come into himself. And as you mentioned, it happened pretty quick. But the baby Gosling happened really quick.
Yeah.
But I guess when you look at the life of a Gosling, they grow up pretty quick because he did have to fly by winter, right? Or fall or whatever. Yeah, fall, because they had to be gone before winter. And I don't know when he was born, but it made it seem like that's not that long of a time. So he was probably less than a year old still.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, he does grow up pretty fast, but it does make sense eventually. And it comes together pretty well. One of the aspects I really liked about it was just the fact that he was the runt.
Right.
And he always stayed the runt.
Yeah.
So in a lot of animated movies, you can't do that with this one because he's an animal and he will always be that way.
Right. Yeah.
But in other animated movies, you can give him upgrades.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So in Transformers, they are the underdogs, but they eventually get their
Then they can
upgrades. They
transform.
get their swords.
Yeah.
They get their axes like they can swing. So as they progress in their characters, they also progress in their items.
Right.
But the cool thing about this one is that he progresses in his strength, but he doesn't become much bigger or stronger.
Yeah.
He just becomes better because of what he went through.
Right.
So because he was the runt, he got the opportunity to fly with the falcon. Like no other ducks would have thought, hey, I need to practice with a falcon.
Right.
Just because they were just born already good with what they need.
Yeah. They got it.
But because he was born with less than what he needed, he was given even more opportunities that helped him help his tribe later on in life.
Right.
So I think it was a very awesome and valuable lesson that we can bring to our lives and our children, is that just because you're born one way doesn't mean you need to be fixed, like you need to be given extra items. You just need more time, and we can give you more opportunities, which will help the whole tribe grow.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Part of that story as well is where he was flying from sunrise to sunset. He was lifting rocks with his wings, flying, holding a rock, right? Like, I think, yeah, like you said, it's a great thing that we can implement to our story. Right?
Yeah, because none of the other ones were even going to be practicing with rocks, and they probably can't do it. Like, he was born lower so that he could live like above average.
And then eventually, because of that, he came into himself. He grew up and was able to, as you said, lead his, I don't know if it's called the tribe or not, but we're calling it the tribe. But yeah, he was able to help them
into battle.
Right.
Yeah. And that was a great promise and payoff, that he learned to dive, and he used the diving in a specific scene later on. Yeah. Which was so awesome.
I think one thing I wanted to talk about that I forgot about until just now was, so he grew up, and then it's time for them to all leave, and then there's that really emotional scene. Roz is running and watching them fly away, and then thankfully the older goose, flew his formation by Roz so that she could see Bright Bill one more time. That felt almost like a climax, right? Yeah. And so I think, which was super awesome.
I thought maybe they would never see each other again.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But because that happened, super emotional. I shed some tears right there a little bit. I don't know about you.
I stopped myself. I was like, I'm not going to cry.
It's enough to make a grown man cry, but not this man. Get back in there, Tia.
I let a few through. My only critique was that kind of felt like the end, because it was so emotional, that then when we got to the very end of the movie, it was still great, and I loved the ending, but it just felt like two different endings,
Yeah,
so
there definitely was.
It didn't feel as good as the first one.
Okay, yeah. There definitely was two different phases of the movie,
right? Which
was phase one, Bright Bill grows up, he learns how to be stronger, and then phase two is
protect Roz.
Well, protect Roz kind of comes near the end, but phase two is all the animals come together,
right?
Because of Roz and because of what they saw with Bright Bill, how he helped Bright Bill, and it really puts the movie all together, because at the start they all hate each other, and they all are, like I said at the beginning, it really sets up this is a dangerous place, and then by the end they can really come together. And in reality this would never work because animals are animals,
right?
But the lesson is really, really cool.
It is.
And the final battle just really feels like a celebration of, look at these lessons that we learned. We are fighting together.
Right.
And it felt like one of those extra scenes that they put in movies sometimes, like The Fall Guy. It's like, we need another extra battle scene of celebration. Like, why do we need this? But this one, I really, really liked it. Yeah. It just really, everyone got their character moments. Like the possums got to say their line.
Right.
And
really sell it this time.
Yeah. So awesome. Everyone got their moment, and it felt like a great celebration of the lessons they had learned throughout the movie.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Is it better than Transformers? Because Transformers came out last week, and now we have The Wild Robot. Which one are people going to see?
The Wild Robot.
You think The Wild Robot is better?
I think it's better by a lot. And I like Transformers 1. But The Wild Robot, to me, it's just so much, there's so much more depth to it to me. I just liked it way more.
That's really cool.
What about you?
I enjoyed Transformers 1 more.
What?
I think I would definitely rewatch Transformers 1 more often.
That's crazy.
I feel like this Wild Robot is one and done for me.
That's crazy. Because the Wild Robot to me is one that, even if it comes out on a streaming service that I have, I'm buying it on DVD.
So you really like How to Train Your Dragon?
I do.
So how does this compare to How to Train Your Dragon? Because they're both DreamWorks.
Yeah, it's super good. I still rank it below How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay.
I am super biased because How to Train Your Dragon is just my childhood series, and I love dragons.
And you're starting to look like old Hiccup now.
Yeah, exactly. I got the beard and everything, so I did lose the hair, but it's coming back. But the Wild Robot did make me think about it for about 2 seconds. But then,
You're like, do I like this better?
yeah, but then I was like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Mhm.
I think that this movie was really good, but I don't think that it will get a sequel. Here's why. Because the characters in the movie just look like animals, you know?
yeah,
So if studios are going to make movies, they're going to make movies off of money that's made. And they can't sell toys
yeah,
because the animals just look like basic animals with their specific art style, and the art style was really good. But normally in animated movies, the animals will have something that
Characteristics.
is like, I'm a character in a movie. You know, like
Yeah.
I have big eyes, or like
yeah, that's
something
true.
like that. But the animals were very conservative in their attempt to look like animated characters.
Mm-hmm.
They looked more realistic than animated.
Yeah,
So it's going to be hard to sell toys. Plus, the robot, there's only one type of robot, and she's very basic looking. So she's going to be hard to sell
sell.
off a shelf.
yeah.
So it's going to be hard to convince the studio to make a sequel.
There was a point in the movie where I was like, oh, okay, they're planning on making a sequel because Roz is going back to her spot. Otherwise, they're going to come destroy the island, basically. And then I thought the movie was going to end. But then it cut to the very, very end to Bright Bill finding Roz in the factory or that farm. I don't know exactly. And then I was like, oh, okay, there went the sequel.
Yeah.
So,
You could definitely level this sequel up, though.
Yeah.
Kind of how they did with How to Train Your Dragon, and
Oh,
make it
yeah.
super intense. Just make the sequel be about Roz overtaking the whole robot community and making a grand escape from this.
Right.
The
AI becoming free.
yeah,
Yeah. their own species, I guess.
yeah.
That would definitely jump to a whole new level from what it is right now.
Yeah,
But
but that's the
Who
way they
knows?
could do a sequel.
yeah, who knows? But man, DreamWorks, sometimes they just make super good movies and sometimes they flop super bad. And it's one or the other in my mind. This time, super good.
Awesome. Yeah, I was impressed, but I definitely liked Transformers 1 better. It's just more fun.
In the
More
comments
colorful.
below, tell him why he's Ron.
Or right.
Ron.
Well, Kenny,
Jerem.
I enjoyed watching The Wild Robot with you, and I enjoyed talking about it. If you like this video, and subscribe.
And as always, let's bolt.